like just stopped and noticed how certain sounds, they can totally shift like your whole mood?
Well, yeah.
Like how, like a calming melody can kind of just like melt away stress?
Mm,
Or like the opposite, how the wrong song can just like instantly kill the vibe?
totally.
It's like wild. Well, that's actually the power of frequencies at work.
It really is.
It's something that you've been curious about. And
Uh,
today we're gonna take a deep dive into this kind of hidden world.
awesome.
We're gonna explore, how frequencies can impact us every day, from the natural rhythms of the earth to like all the buzzing tech that's like all around us.
Right.
You even sent over some information on a product called Tuun Resonate. Have you heard of this?
I'm not sure if I have, actually.
It sounds really intriguing, but before we get into that, let's start with the basics.
Okay, yeah.
Like, what are frequencies, and why should we even care about them?
Yeah, so what's fascinating about frequencies is that, they're literally everywhere, like all around us, all the time.
Really?
Yeah, they're constantly interacting with our bodies,
Mm.
in ways that we rarely even notice. You can kind of think of it like being a fish swimming in water.
Oh, okay.
The fish might not be like consciously aware of the water, right? But like it's completely immersed in it. And we're surrounded by a similar like sea of frequencies. You know what I mean?
Okay, so we're swimming in the sea of frequencies. Can you give us some examples of what that actually means?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have like natural frequencies, right? Like the Earth's magnetic field,
Oh, okay.
which, it has its own pulse.
Yeah.
And some research, suggests that our bodies have actually evolved to like sync up with it.
Whoa, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Is that related at all to the Schumann resonance that was mentioned in one of the articles?
It is, yeah. So the Schumann resonance is, it's basically a set of frequencies created by lightning discharges that happen all around the globe.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So it's like a constant hum. Basically, it's 7.83 hertz.
Okay.
And some studies have actually linked exposure to it with, feelings of calm and focus.
Oh, wow. So if I'm feeling stressed, all I need to do is find a good lightning storm to like chill out under.
Well, not quite.
Okay.
While some people do find binaural beats that are tuned to that specific frequency to be helpful, the research on, like the specific benefits of Schumann resonance is still, it's pretty early.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it's not like we can just control the weather, right?
Right.
But this idea that our bodies are tuned into the Earth's natural rhythms, that's fascinating.
It is, yeah.
And it makes you think about, all the other frequencies that we're exposed to, like especially the ones that come from our devices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a key point, actually, because, our tech-filled world, it's generating a whole other layer of frequencies.
Oh, okay.
So you have these things called electromagnetic fields, or EMFs, they're also called. And they're constantly radiating, from our phones, our laptops, Wi-Fi routers, you name it, like everything.
Wow.
The long-term effects of this, like constant exposure, they're still being studied. There's a lot of debate about like the potential impact on, on our health.
Okay, so we've got like natural frequencies and then these tech frequencies.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, now this is where things get a little bit confusing for me.
Okay.
One of the articles that you sent, it talks about negative frequencies, but like as a good thing, help us out here. How can a negative frequency be like positive for us?
Yeah, I see where the confusion comes from. It's all about understanding, like the terminology being used.
Yeah, okay.
In this case, the words positive and negative, they're not really about like good or bad judgments.
Yeah.
They're actually referring to electrical charges.
So negative frequency doesn't necessarily mean that it's like harmful.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's not about good or bad. It's just about the type of charge.
Okay.
Think about like the concept of grounding or earthing.
Okay, yeah.
The Earth itself actually has a natural negative charge. And like connecting to that charge, like walking barefoot on the beach, that can be really beneficial.
So that's why I feel so relaxed after a day at the beach. It's not just the sunshine and the margaritas.
Right.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all connects. Now let's talk about this this Tuun Resonate product that you mentioned earlier. They claim to create a negative frequency environment to protect you from what they call positive frequency disruptors. Before we go any further, let me just emphasize that we're looking at what the sources say about this product, not endorsing it or anything like that.
Right.
Just for full transparency.
Of course, yeah.
With that being said, what what's the science behind these claims? Like, how does that even work?
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting concept. They claim that certain minerals that are, within the product can actually influence the frequencies around you. They can create a sort of like protective bubble.
Hmm.
And while some minerals, do have electromagnetic properties, whether a device like this can actually create, significant, like negative frequency environment
Hmm.
and deliver the promised benefits, that's another matter.
So should we be taking these claims with a grain of salt then?
I would say, extraordinary claims often require extraordinary evidence,
Yeah.
right? So to truly assess the effectiveness of a product like this, you'd really want to look for like rigorous scientific studies with, large sample sizes, comparing people who actually use the product to those who don't, measuring, specific outcomes
Hmm.
like mood or energy level, sleep quality, and maybe even like biological markers for, stress or inflammation, things like that.
Yeah, it's like you always say, show me the data.
Exactly.
But this has definitely sparked my curiosity about, whether we can intentionally shape like our frequency environment for the better. Oh. Speaking of which, this article about music's impact on mood, this really caught my eye. They talk about how different tempos and melodies can evoke like different emotions.
Right.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, yeah. Music is, it's such a powerful tool for like manipulating frequencies.
Really?
Yeah, and influencing our emotional states. Like a fast-paced song with, a strong beat can energize you for a workout.
Yeah.
Whereas like a slow melodic piece can, help you calm down before bed. It all comes down to how those frequencies interact with our brains and nervous systems.
It's making me think about my own music library now. I guess those heavy metal bands I love, maybe not the best choice for a relaxing evening at home.
Maybe not.
So let's say I want to start being more mindful of my frequency environment.
Mm.
Are there any like practical tips from the sources on how to, maybe minimize exposure to potentially disruptive frequencies or even like seek out those, beneficial ones? Like what can people actually do?
Yeah, so the sources, they mainly focus on promoting the Tuun resonant product as like the solution.
Right.
However, we already talked about grounding,
Yeah.
right? That is one technique that actually is backed by some, solid research.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not be practical to like walk barefoot everywhere all the time, but even a few minutes a day,
Yeah.
can be really helpful.
Okay. That's a good starting point.
Yeah,
And I'm sure there's other techniques and practices we can explore.
absolutely.
This deep dive has definitely opened my eyes to a whole new world of possibilities. It's fascinating.
It is, yeah. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll actually explore some of those possibilities in more detail. We'll delve into like the potential of specific frequencies for, promoting well-being, and even touch on some like cutting-edge therapies that utilize the power of sound and vibration.
How? Okay.
So stay tuned.
I will. I can't wait. So, welcome back to our deep dive into the world of frequencies.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
In the last part, we talked about how we're like constantly surrounded by this invisible sea of frequencies, some natural, some from our tech and all that.
Yeah, and we kind of explored how understanding that concept of negative frequencies can actually help us connect with like the Earth's natural energy and potentially improve our well-being.
Right. It's not about like good vibes versus bad vibes or anything like that. It's more about understanding, the science behind these energy fields.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's kind of build on that, and explore like specific frequencies and their impact. The Schumann resonance keeps coming up in these articles as something that's like really beneficial.
Right. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
The Schumann resonance is basically a set of frequencies that occur naturally in the Earth's electromagnetic field,
Okay.
and they're generated by lightning discharges that happen all around the globe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they create this like constant subtle hum.
So it's like the Earth has its own like background music.
In a way, yeah.
That's so cool.
And it's a tune that our bodies might be like intrinsically linked to. Some research suggests that being exposed to the Schumann resonance, which is primarily at 7.83 hertz,
Okay.
can actually have positive effects on our like mental and physical state.
Okay, what kind of effects are we talking about here?
Well, some studies have shown that exposure to this frequency can lead to like reduce stress, improve sleep, even enhanced cognitive function.
Really?
Yeah, it's still an area that, requires more research, but the initial findings they're pretty exciting.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if, our modern lifestyles are actually impacting this connection, like
Right.
we spend so much time indoors, surrounded by technology and all these artificial EMFs and
Mm-hmm. That's a valid concern.
yeah.
Some experts believe that, that constant exposure to artificial EMFs can disrupt our natural resonance with the Earth's frequencies,
Hmm.
and that this disruption, could potentially contribute to feelings of, fatigue or anxiety or just feeling out of sync.
Okay, so besides occasionally escaping to the beach for some grounding, what can we do to kind of tap back into these beneficial frequencies, like the Schumann resonance?
Yeah, well, there are several things that you can try.
Okay.
Um, Spending time in nature is a great way to reconnect with the Earth's natural rhythms.
Mm-hmm.
Activities like forest bathing, gardening,
Yeah.
or even just going for a walk in the park, these can all be really beneficial.
So it's not just about being outdoors, but actively engaging with nature.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if you're looking for something a little more targeted, yeah, you could also try listening to binaural beats
Oh, okay.
that are tuned to the Schumann resonance frequency.
Mhm.
There are tons of recordings available online and through various apps and stuff.
Binaural beats, I've heard that term before, but I never really understood what it means. What are
Yeah.
those?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool concept.
Mhm.
Basically, binaural beats are created by playing two slightly different frequencies, one in each ear.
Yep.
And then your brain actually perceives a third frequency, which is like the difference between the two.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. And this third frequency can then entrain brainwave activity,
Hmm.
which can then potentially influence, your mental state.
So by listening to binaural beats that are tuned to 7.83 hertz, I could potentially experience those calming effects of the Schumann resonance, even if I'm stuck in my apartment.
That's the idea, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Of course, it's important to approach these techniques with an open mind,
Yeah,
and remember that individual responses can vary,
of course. Yeah.
but it's definitely worth exploring.
It's we're exploring this whole new world of sound and its impact on our well-being.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about, the Tuun resonant product that we discussed earlier. They talk about creating a negative frequency environment, which we now understand is more about, electrical charge than good or bad vibes.
Right.
Do you think that, products like that could have a place in intentionally shaping our frequency environment?
It's an intriguing idea,
Mm.
and while we need more research to really validate those specific claims,
Mhm.
the concept of intentionally influencing the frequencies around us it's definitely fascinating.
Right.
Yeah.
It sparks a lot of questions. Could we design our homes and workspaces to be more in tune with these, beneficial frequencies?
Well, we could certainly take steps to minimize our exposure to those potentially disruptive frequencies.
Okay.
Simple things like using grounded outlets, limiting screen time,
Hmm.
keeping electronic devices out of the bedroom. These can all make a difference.
It's almost like decluttering our frequency space.
Right.
Just like we declutter our physical spaces.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about taking control of our frequency environment rather than just passively accepting whatever we're exposed to.
Hmm.
And that kind of brings us to a bigger point.
Okay.
This deep dive into frequencies has really highlighted the interconnectedness between our internal and external worlds.
Right. So it's not just about the frequencies themselves, but how our bodies and minds interact with them.
Exactly.
Okay.
It makes you wonder, if you could consciously tune your personal frequency environment,
Mm.
what would your ideal soundscape or energy feel like?
That's a great question to ponder. What would our personal frequency playlist sound like?
Right.
Would it be the sounds of nature or specific musical pieces? Or maybe even like silence?
It's a fascinating question.
It
Yeah,
is.
and it's one that we'll continue exploring in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll delve into, the potential of using frequencies for healing and personal transformation, and we'll leave you with some final thoughts to ponder.
All right, so welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into frequencies. We've covered like a lot of ground here.
Well,
From the Earth's natural rhythms to those buzzing EMFs from our devices and everything.
and we've kind of started to explore the idea of like taking a more active role,
Hmm.
in shaping our frequency environment.
Exactly. Yeah. Now this is where things get like really interesting for me.
Okay.
Some of the sources that you sent over, they touch on like using frequencies for healing and personal transformation. It sounds almost like science fiction, but then again, we've already learned like so much about the power of these unseen forces, right?
Yeah, it's a fascinating area of exploration,
Hmm.
and while it's important to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism,
Right.
there's definitely some intriguing research emerging in this field.
Okay, so where do we even begin with this? Like what does it mean to use frequencies for healing?
Well, think about it this way: our bodies are complex systems of energy and vibration.
Okay.
Every cell, every organ, it operates at a certain frequency.
Mm,
And when these frequencies are in harmony, we experience well-being.
yeah.
But when they're out of sync,
Hmm.
it can lead to dis-ease.
So the idea is that we can use like external frequencies to help bring our bodies back into balance.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh.
There are various modalities that utilize this principle. One example is sound healing,
Oh, okay.
which uses specific frequencies often produced by instruments like singing bowls or tuning forks
Right.
to promote relaxation and balance.
I've heard of sound baths.
Mhm.
Are those based on the same idea?
They are.
Yeah, cool.
Sound baths are a form of sound healing where participants are basically immersed in a soundscape that's created by these various instruments.
Okay.
And it's to induce like deep relaxation and promote a sense of peace and well-being.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly relaxing, but is there any like science to back up these claims, or is it more of just like a spiritual practice?
It's both actually.
Okay.
While sound healing does have like ancient roots in various cultures,
Yeah.
modern research is starting to explore its effects on the brain and nervous system.
Oh, okay.
And some studies have shown that certain frequencies can actually entrain brainwave activity,
Hmm.
which can then potentially, shift us into more like relaxed or focused states.
So we might be like tapping into something that our ancestors like intuitively understood about the power of sound and vibration.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And it's not just limited to sound either.
Yeah.
There are also therapies that utilize like light and electromagnetic frequencies for healing purposes.
Now that's really getting into like sci-fi territory.
Right.
Can you give us like an example of that?
One example is biofield tuning,
Okay.
which uses tuning forks to help rebalance the body's energy field.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to unpack that a bit more.
Okay.
What exactly is an energy field, and how can tuning forks like impact it?
It's a bit complex, and the scientific understanding of energy fields is still kind of evolving.
Right.
But you can kind of think of it as like a subtle electromagnetic field that extends beyond like our physical bodies.
Okay.
And some practitioners believe that this field can be influenced by, external frequencies,
Mm.
including those, that are produced by tuning forks.
Oh, okay.
And by using specific frequencies and techniques, they aim to, restore like harmony and balance to this energy field.
Wow, it's mind-blowing to think that something as simple as a tuning fork could have such a profound impact.
It is.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? When it comes to exploring the potential of frequencies for healing and transformation.
Absolutely.
There are so many like modalities emerging, and it's an exciting field to watch, as research continues to uncover like the mechanisms at play here.
Yeah, for sure.
it feels like we're like on the cusp of like a whole new understanding of health and well-being, one that recognizes the importance of energy and vibration.
Yeah.
This deep dive has definitely opened my mind to a whole new world of possibilities.
That's the beauty of, exploration and learning.
Yeah.
It expands our awareness and challenges us to see the world from different perspectives.
Yeah, and speaking of perspectives, I want to bring us back to that thought-provoking question that you posed earlier.
Yeah.
If you could consciously tune like your personal frequency environment,
Yeah.
what would your ideal soundscape or energy, feel like?
It's a powerful question.
Yeah.
And one that encourages us to become more mindful of the frequencies that we invite into our lives.
Hmm.
What sounds or vibrations like nourish you? What environments leave you feeling like depleted?
Yeah, it's a very personal exploration. For me, like being in nature, surrounded by the sounds of birdsong and like rustling leaves, that always brings me like a sense of peace and clarity.
Mm-hmm.
But I also find like solace in certain types of music, especially like classical or ambient pieces that evoke a sense of spaciousness.
Right, and that's the key takeaway, I think.
Yeah.
The journey of tuning your personal frequency environment is a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
It's about paying attention to how different sounds and vibrations, impact you, and making conscious choices that align with your well-being.
Thank you. Thank you so much for guiding me through this
Sure.
fascinating deep dive into the world of frequencies.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
It's truly been like an eye-opening experience.
It's been a pleasure sharing this exploration with you. And remember, the world of frequencies is vast and constantly evolving. There's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to experience. So stay curious, keep exploring, and may your journey be filled with harmonious frequencies.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see where this all leads.
Me too.